I had a horse when I was 11 and they bought it for $100 and Rocky was my horse. And it was just something that I didn't even realize at the time how much the horse was healing me, because you're just thinking about, hey, this horse is healing me. My parents are abusive and alcoholics. It's just that horse was helping me through those times. So I have to give credit.
Hi, and welcome to the Heart Leader podcast, where heart and mind align. I'm your host, Amber, and today I am with a very, very good friend of mine. His name is Greg James, and he has had one of the most interesting and unique lives I have encountered. So let's welcome you, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Amber. I really am grateful and appreciative that you're having me on your show.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All the way from Cambodia.
Siem Reap, actually, to be specific. It's a province in the northwest part of Cambodia. There's no beaches or anything exciting. It's out in the middle of the country. It's the poorest province in Cambodia, actually. So
you're not at a 5-star resort?
No, but they have them everywhere. You'd be surprised because this is a real tourist town. And what originally attracted me, if I can go into a little of my backstory of how I got there, because everyone asks that.
How did you end up in Cambodia? Yeah.
Well, I went backpacking like a lot of backpackers do, but the country only opened up around 2000, really. It was still bad with the Khmer Rouge, and that's a whole nother long interview about Khmer Rouge. So it wasn't really safe there to go. So I went about 10 years after it was safe to go, which is really, pretty rural and crazy, and it's built up now. But it was so amazing because I've always wanted to see, I heard about Angkor Wat. And I'm like, what's Angkor Wat? And what are these temples? And what's this? This is the largest Asian temple in the world, the oldest Asian temple in the world. And I was like, oh, I got to go see it. So it was originally a Hindu temple. Actually, it started out and then converted into a Buddhist temple. And I can give you all the history and all about the temple. So Angkor Wat, just like, I had no idea what I was like getting into, but it just blew my mind when I got there. So me and my friend, who I took along, the travel partner, who's really a nice, easy travel partner is what you want, right? So we went and we were supposed to stay for 3 days, and it was over Christmas. And we actually stayed for a week because I couldn't get enough of the temples. I couldn't absorb it. I couldn't like wrap my head around how anybody could build this over 1,000 years ago. So it just blew my mind. And then the people are so friendly there. They're the nicest people in the world. And I just like had this like out of body experience, like being there. And it was like, wow, these are my people. This is my place. And it was Christmas Eve. And we went over to a orphanage out of the blue just to see what they're doing on a Christmas Eve. So we had our guide take us to an orphanage, and they weren't doing anything. And people out there might be, well, of course they're not. They're Buddhists and they don't celebrate Christmas. But it's very, very odd because Christmas gets celebrated more than I feel there now than it does in the States, because they love celebrations. They have more holidays than any other country in the world. But so Christmas is a big deal. So getting back to my story, the kids weren't doing anything on Christmas Eve. And me and my friend were looking at ourselves like, let's take them out for a chicken dinner. So, and I don't mean like to, Cane's or
KFC or something like that.
Something like that. It's like, this is out in this like nowhere area, but it's like amusement park, really old stuff that maybe America gave to them years ago, but really dangerous kind of stuff. Not dangerous, but little cars. So we took them out and we had this chicken and rice dinner. And that was a huge deal to these kids. They were just like looking at us like, who are you two? And this is like over 10 years ago. So this is even crazier that we were like doing this. And it was the best experience I've ever had. I never felt like that. And something, really hit me on top of feeling the energy from the temples and all that. So it was just one of those crazy aha moments of like, wow. So the kids had a Christmas and it was so cute because we had all these tuk-tuks that took them out and they were just having a great old time. It was the best Christmas I ever had. So I decided to do it every Christmas, go back. So I've done it for over like 10 years now, going back every Christmas to celebrate with the kids. We don't really take them out and do that anymore because things are run differently now. and we just basically do a fundraiser in Columbus, actually a comedy show that raises like 2-3 grand. And basically I use that money and I go out in a tuk-tuk like Santa in a sleigh. And basically we go out to certain schools that we know need help. So I'm very connected with the Cambodians that I go out with that help me, find the right schools. And then also we go right to the people, to the homes. So not only, and we're not giving out toys. So this Santa doesn't give out toys. He gives out school uniforms, paper and pencils, essentials. And that's what they want. Like, that's what they need. They're, sure, toys would be great, but that's secondary to the essentials. So they're so grateful. Any little thing you give them, even a pen or a Santa hat, they just go crazy. And and I think that's what really draws me in, how appreciative these kids are to have these essentials that we just take for granted in the States, So that just blew me away when I saw how, like, even recently, I couldn't keep it together. We went to a school on Christmas and there was over 100 kids. And my best friend's sister gave me $1,000. So I put it all towards uniforms and backpacks for 100 kids. And they made a big ceremony out of it. It was a huge deal. And I'll post some video and maybe you can show some people. But I was supposed to speak, and I hate leading into this, but it just happened and I'm just still not recovered from it. And it was, where I had to speak and I was looking out at all these kids and usually I can keep it together because I try to keep like a more happy spirit about all this and not get too caught up into like, thinking too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a part of my best friend's sister who I really don't know that well, but she trusted me and gave me that money. And it's like part of that was mixed into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone who I never thought would give me anything. And she did that. So it was like, I don't know. There was just a lot of stuff going on and I just broke down and I just like, it was so, I couldn't even speak they were waiting for me to talk and be translated. Of course, I couldn't understand what I said, but it was just this year was so amazing and so touching. And I was doing this for like 4 days, doing different charities like this. And anyway, I could go on and on.
You call this Christmas in Cambodia, and it's just something that came from your heart from this visit that you had.
Yeah. And I think, that's why I look at what you call your podcast. It's Heart Leader. And it's like, wow, that's exactly, when I see what you call this, it's like, wow, that really speaks to me. And I was like, even more excited to be on this podcast because it's so labeled like dead on to what I feel is like, what if we listen to our heart, it will lead us. And it's like, people ask me all the time, what makes you do this? I'm like, I'm just listening to my heart. I'm following whatever this higher power or this, I'm just a messenger, So I'm grateful to be able to get to this place after having such a great life and all these experiences around the world. But this is something that just never leaves you. It really is a part of who I am. And I'm so happy that I could get to that place. And I'm a work in progress like most people, but I'll fight hard and work hard to keep helping my people who I call, Cambodians, and just doing my little piece. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm delusional, to think that I'm trying to save the world or this or that. I'm not like that at all. I'm just trying to do my little piece and hope that other people can be inspired. And I feel they are just through Facebook. And I hate to say that's the platform, but it is, where you have your circle of real and fake friends, whatever. But people are inspired when I post the videos. And I was very hesitant the first few years to post videos because I was like, this is between me and God, this is between me and Buddha, this is between, me and the higher power, whoever you want to make it. And somebody sat me down and said, you need to get the word out because people want to be inspired, just like I'm inspired by you today, having this and reaching out to all these people around the world. So we all need to kind of understand, sometimes it seems a little I don't know. I just don't want people to look at me as like, hey, he's trying to show off or act like he's doing, trying to make people like me, because I don't care about any of that. I don't care what you think of me, and I don't care either way if you're like, hey, good job, good job. It doesn't faze me because I'm like, good job or bad job, it's it's just who I am, and giving back and helping in an area that you feel is needed. That's it. It's simple. It's not anything more than that.
And if people knew your life, then you are an amazing individual. Everything I've ever known you in, and I've known you for many years, and I'm so grateful to have known you for many years. But I got to know your heart first from being on the other side of your lens when you were a photographer. And I was scared. I was a meek girl entering into a new industry, knowing it was my passion, but not knowing what to do with it. And you saw my heart. And that's what you pulled through the lens as a photographer. And I had been to many photographers who were not nice. They just were not patient, were not nice. And it was a job for them. For you, it wasn't a job. For you, it was a way to connect with a person's soul and then capture that through the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for saying that, because I went through the same experience. I started on the other side like yourself, and I had so many bad experiences, and it just kept eating at me. And I'm like, wow, these people are just doing this for money, and this camera is just a weapon to them. And to me, it was like a really precious, I'm saying things that I've never said before, because it's like, it's a soul seeker, and it's like, a heart seeker. And it's like you're tapping into people, and they're so vulnerable. So it's like getting in front of a psychologist or something. And I kind of call myself a phototherapist, because it's like more than just taking a picture, because people are very vulnerable. And even the most secure people on the outside, or confident, or this, it doesn't matter how much money I've shot millionaires, it doesn't matter. It's like when you put a camera up, everybody's like, they're vulnerable. And it's like, to take advantage of that is just not, it's just not fair, and it's not right. So for me, it's like being able to say, look, we're in this together. I'm going to bring this up. And obviously I don't work the way I'm talking right now. I work in a different way with humor, and being comfortable with myself. Getting to that place was a big turn for me, where I could be comfortable with myself so other people can be. If you're not comfortable with yourself, or if you're coming off with this attitude or this or that, then other people aren't going to be comfortable with you. So I keep this high energy, and I try to keep it fun, because people take this experience from photography and it carries over, into their real life. In regards with the acting and the modeling, it's like they remember these experiences, and it builds them up or it tears them down. Because I've worked with a lot of young girls who said, I almost quit after my first shoot, but I thought I'd come to you and see if it could be any better. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad, all these young people that want to just kind of grow. And to me, if I can go into my modeling, I only got into it because I was deeply insecure. I never had a date. I was considered a dork, a geek, all that. And it just took this one kid in college that looked up at me and goes, you look like a JCPenney model. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Me? No way. Because I was so insecure, and I was so I had no self-esteem. And I'm like, oh, let me try that. So what happened is I got into modeling, and it just took off right away. And people look at you differently. So to me, I don't know if I can explain this properly, if people would understand. It artificially built me up, because I understand it. It's all from the outside, right? So you're not working on your inside. Exactly. It's all this. But sometimes it takes a kickstart like that to get to your insides. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but
it
to
totally.
me, that's how my journey went. I had to be like accepted on the outside, but it caused all these crazy things like being self-conscious, and people were looking at you different and treating you different. I'm like, hey, I'm still that little geeky kid from Amish country, Ohio, but nobody knew it. And when you traveled and went to places, people didn't know what you thought. Or so there's a lot of good, but a lot of bad that goes with that, because it can really mess with your head, that you get focused on looks. So, but I was fortunate enough, I could take that confidence from the outside and channel it into the inside, start working on my insides. And I feel fortunate that I could do that. I feel like a lot of people stay surface like that, but it's not my concern. But I know that I used it to help build myself as more of a spiritual and caring person. So Yeah.
But what I've observed you do so well then is take that authentic person that you are and show up the same every place I've seen you, whether it is as the photographer, or it is as the filmmaker, or it is as this person who's now running this amazing charity. And then you take that and you use it to see the authentic person in whomever it is that you're in service of, whether it's the actor on a set, or it's the person on the other side of the lens as a photographer. And, any picture you look at from someone you've taken a photo of, you can see that you captured that part of them. And I won't talk about who all you photographed, but I'm sure a lot of people have seen some of the photographs you've taken, whether they realize you're the photographer or not. And then they'll go, oh, I get that. And now this film that you've made, Adeline, I want to talk about that because there's a heart to that and a purpose-driven message to that. Can you share that too?
Another big part of my life, believe it or not, over a 17-year journey of just reading it wasn't by accident. I was searching for a project to put my heart into because my first one was just kind of a silly college comedy I did back in 2000. It got a lot of exposure within the big agencies in Los Angeles, but it wasn't really, I'm actually into comedy. Comedy is my forte, but I'm a little kind of different than a lot. I have a deep side of me that's very much like Adeline, where I need to send an inspirational message that's true to my heart of what I experienced. And I was just so attracted by a news article in the Columbus Dispatch. And I was searching for projects. So this is like over 20 years ago. And I saw this article about Adeline, a healing horse out near Marysville, Ohio, northwest of Columbus. And I started reading about how this horse was doing a healing session one day out of the month in a barn with 13 people in November, and a tornado came. Like the odds of a tornado in November, the odds of the tornado coming on this day in November, the one day they do a healing session and wiping out the whole barn, except the one wall that Adeline kept 13 people held up against during this tornado and saved them all. When a horse's instincts is to run. I mean, it was like blowing my mind reading this. And then Adeline got injured, had to go to the vet, Ohio State vet. And all these people, this is all in one article, all these people from around the community sent $3, $5, $20. It was just beautiful how the community came together to save this horse because it was a $10,000 surgery that was not guaranteed. The horse had a less than 5% chance. It was the hawk, by the way, of surviving. And the vet there was this superstar, humble guy who doesn't want to be known or anything because he did the surgery young. I mean, everything was just so like set up for a movie. But anyway, I read that and I went out and met the lady, and turned out I met her before. Her daughter went to one of the modeling schools in Ohio. She was trying to build her self-esteem, her adopted daughter. I've shot her. It's a crazy story, like how this was meant to be.
Again, karmic circles, right?
Yeah. So it was like, I was set in my head that if there's any movie, I have to make this before I die. So I got involved with some people, and I won't get into that. It just didn't turn out. The energy was way off. Unfortunately, with healing of animals comes some people that need healing themselves, and they're not. It's just, I won't get into that, but it took a long time, and it got revisited a few years ago, and we got the money together, but I wanted to shoot in COVID because I wanted this movie to come out after COVID when people are really needing some healing. So the timing of shooting in COVID was really bad because shooting in COVID was very, very, very stressful, very hard, on top of other things I won't get into. So it was quite a challenge, the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. But the results are, to me, in the end, the message of this horse saving these people and working with autistic kids. And I've seen it firsthand. I did a lot of research, made a documentary that I need to release out. I haven't yet. The documentary is the true story, and the movie is based on a true story, which is very close to what happened. So you can rent it on Amazon or anything. It's just Adeline, Adeline. It's a beautiful film, beautiful actors. The lady that played the mom, Erin Bethea. Oh, what a heart she has. She's just such an amazing actress. David Chikachi from Baywatch plays the dad, and he's just not sure about this healing, doesn't want his son going up to the barn. And to me, so I co-wrote the script with another writer that I found, and he got the credit for the film. That's fine, but it was my story idea based around the true story. The preacher was the father. But anyway, you can watch the movie.
The lovely Jane Mauder. I have to give her a shout out. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I'm sorry. I didn't, glad you brought her up, because she was a big part of why I wanted to do the movie, because I always saw her in that role of Michelle, who's the lady that had the horses, who moved there with the medicine horses. And she's amazing. She's been a good friend of mine for a long time. And she just did an amazing job. And I knew she was just perfect for that role. So, and that changed her life too. She's completely a different person now from that, being able to play that. I don't think she thought I could ever get it together, you know. just people kind of underestimate me a little bit, because
getting a film together like that is not an easy journey in itself. Talk about a spiritual adventure.
Oh God, yeah.
So I know we all love going to the movies, but if you don't have a studio behind you, I don't know that we understand how much effort an independent film actually takes. So a moment right now to give a lot of gratitude and a lot of praise to every independent filmmaker out there who makes things happen.
Don't think that people won't get your message if you reach out and let them know. Like, express yourself and feel free. I think to be completely open with you, and I feel like you kind of bring that out of me, is part of me is like, was hoping for some more feedback from people. You know, I have these expectations, like I need some love here. Even as a photographer, you need like feedback. How did you like your pictures? This. So I kind of got over that with photography, because you start understanding how people are, and you just kind of don't let that, you know, bother you, or you think about it too much. But with Adeline, I was hoping I would get more people that found me or reached out to me. Maybe they can't find me. It was coming from different people that I thought would never reach out to me that did. You know how you get those texts for Christmas, Merry Christmas, from people like, whoa.
I haven't heard from you in years. Where'd that come from? You know?
My good friends aren't even saying Merry Christmas. So it's kind of like that with Adeline. I was like, oh, and it's like, I didn't do it for that reason at all. But I was like, man, I want to know if like people that I respect and like, you know, feel like have you know, a love for this type of story, inspiration, animals, you know, would be feel like it kind of hit them and inspired them too. So, but anyway, I let that go too, also because basically it's kind of like with the charity. It's like you give to the universe, you do your thing, and you can't have expectations. You know, you don't have expectations in life. That's really one big lesson my really good friend who's a psychiatrist taught me is don't have expectations in people, and then you won't ever be let down. So, but I just know with Adeline, I got it done, and I'm just like, I can die now because I that was the message. That was the best message. I don't mean I can die now, but that was the message I wanted to get to the universe more than anything in my life. Like, get that message out, because animals and healing, and you had horses, and I know you, I just hope people can like connect to it and realize that animals are powerful, all animals, dogs and pets that we have, but horses especially are even the most powerful healing animals. And it's so funny because that's something that really helped me. I won't get into my background or my childhood, but it was very traumatic. I had 2 alcoholic, drug addict parents. So I had no nurturing, no love. And I had a horse when I was 11, and they bought it for $100. And Rocky was my horse. And it was just, you know, something that I didn't even realize at the time how much the horse was healing me, because you're just, you know, you're not thinking about, hey, this horse is healing me. My parents are abusive and alcoholics. It's just that horse was helping me through those times. So I have to give credit looking back. And when you think about, what got you out of those tough times or those crazy, traumatic, abusive childhood years. It's horse and other good people that you were lucky to have around you. So anyway,
No, I'm with you. And I felt so compelled to share because I would go into the barn and actually sleep with my horses, and not in like this like weird way, but just if I needed to feel comforted, that's where I felt drawn to go, because they just had this energy that felt so non-judgmental. They just wanted to love you. And you couldn't help but feel relaxed when you were in there.
Yeah. And that's how I felt when I got to give a plug to the farm, Serendipity Stables in Alexandria, York, Ohio, northwest of Columbus. And Michelle, the lady that had these horses, like, I was like, when I started doing my research and I was filming the documentary, 20 years ago, whatever, I was like, wow. I started spending a lot of time up there, and I was like really feeling the energy. Like, it was incredible. And just some of the stuff I witnessed and filmed, and people breaking down, and kids that were really autistic kids. It was like, I just can't recommend enough. And it's not even hippotherapy, which is different, where you're riding the horse, and it's a beautiful therapy too. But this is a transfer of energy just through standing there and feeling the energy of the horse. It's a very simple but complicated spiritual thing going on there that's powerful, powerful, powerful. So I recommend it, and keep going back. If you have any type of abuse or trauma, or any children with disorders or anything, just believe in the power of animals. And getting back to Adeline, the reason it's so powerful to me, the story, it's like God works in mysterious ways. And I feel like I made the main father, the dad, a Christian who is against that, because he feels God will take care of his kid. And the horses are like, voodoo stuff. And it's like, no, God's working in ways that you are not even thinking about. So open your mind, open your heart. That's part of the dialogue that's in the script. And it's just, if you open up to how do you know how God's working, like directly like that? God's working in ways that, how can you comprehend how God could be working possibly with what he's put on the earth, animals. And, I always go back to it's all bigger than us. We're mere mortals here, but there's something way bigger than we can ever comprehend, that we can't even pretend to act like we know about.
And as you said, it goes back to following that heart, right? These kids, they don't question it, because their hearts are full on. So they're like drawn to that energy and that connection. And that's where they find the healing.
Yeah, it's pure. It's heavy, but.
And when we talk about it in the energetics, it's like transmutation. If we want to get all sciencey, and like, it's just pure transmutation of energy. And so it's however we want to slice and dice it, it's just there. And I think that comes full circle to what you're doing now in Cambodia too. Like, your heart is still leading you into a place where it's like there's a need by these kids. And you have this energy that attracts from an area that has the abundance to share. And then you pull it into an area that has a need, so that you can just transmute and share the love from one space to another. And you're this conduit. But you need help in doing that. And I want to dive into that, because I want to take some time to hear about what those needs are, so that it's not, you say it's bigger than you. So let's take it bigger than you. What do you need from others to make this?
Listen, I'll be honest. I never dreamed that I would go out and pursue. I wouldn't even know how to begin to approach anyone to try to make this bigger. Because to me, it was always about, just me doing something. But it's something that can grow, and it can get bigger. And there is a need if somebody wants to help me. And work with me that, because I'm not really good with business, and it turns into a little more of a business, if that's where you're going. If that's what you're asking, like if I can grow this, is that what you mean exactly? Or
I just want to hear what you desire to do.
part of me is afraid to grow like this beautiful Christmas thing that I do, but the other part is me is like, well, I think there's a lot of people out there, to be honest, that would love to help, but I think there's so much negativity with organizations and things where people give and it doesn't get to where they would want it to go, or there's like middlemen taking piece and a very small part of their donation gets there. And I would never want anything to do with that. I like keeping it simple and making sure 100% of whatever somebody's donating goes right to what they want to donate to, because it's something where they want to, they want to help, but they want to make sure they're helping. So I've been going there long enough to know how to avoid the pitfalls and how, there are a lot of bad, when you get into third world countries, there's a lot of corruption, to say the least, going on. But I went through that. I had to go through that to working with other organizations trying to help. But what I feel my heart and where I'm at is helping the kids that are working hard, trying to improve and to make their country get back to where they belong. Because the Khmer Rouge back in the 70s, when you and I were both young and could watch it on TV, wiped out their whole country. All the artists, all the educated athletes, anybody that had any education got killed. So almost 3 million people back in the 70s, if you know about the Khmer Rouge. So they're working really hard to come back, and they really need our help. The West is always, the leaders and people that can help them. So to me, just to cut to the chase, I got involved in the tennis program early, and they play on the dirt, but the kids have grown so much in a short time. There's another man from Australia who kind of started, and I came in and I bring over thousands of dollars of shoes and rackets and things to provide. I know you'd think tennis in Cambodia, but it's really important because it keeps the kids. There's a big drug problem. There's a really big problem with drugs and things. So the sports to me is what kept me off all that stuff growing up. I was a huge sports guy, and it kept me out of trouble. And it really will keep kids out of trouble, but also help them grow in an international sport like tennis. So my focus, I work with the kids all the time, practice them and just being out there, inspiring them. They're so happy when I'm playing with them. So they have a coach now. The Australian man really did a great job getting a Cambodian coach. But my getting to the point is I really would love to build like a small tennis facility with a real court, because they're getting so good now that they could internationally compete. And they are trying already to compete. So out of the Phnom Penh, if you get to a certain level, they'll take them down there. But I would like to help grow the sport up there, to give them a place to come to after school and have a chance of getting out of Cambodia. And what I mean by that, even if they don't become pro or this, they can become teachers, so they can go get jobs in hotels and teach and have a good life. So that's kind of like really where I want to focus my energy, on the kids that are really trying hard, and they can see if you get to a certain level and work hard, you get rewarded. So I'm all about rewarding people that are trying hard, and you have this opportunity to be, so that's really where I'm looking for someone who understands how important an international sport like tennis is, to grow off the dirt into like getting just one good court that we can practice on and help them build to be able to compete and travel and do things like that. So I have Tennis Warehouse as a sponsor. I spend my own money to get DHL. It's very expensive to send all the stuff over, but so they get the equipment. But now we just I'm really trying to find somebody that connects with tennis. And yeah, I'm just going to keep repeating myself. But
no, that's perfect, because then that gives our community an awareness that, hey, if somebody out there has a connection or a passion in the area of tennis and can help get a facility built. And the area that you're talking about, again, is where?
Sam Reap, which is where Angkor Wat is located, the largest, oldest Asian temple in the world. It's a huge vacation destination from people all over the world. Americans, Europeans, everyone comes to see these temples. It's like the most incredible trip you would ever have. And if you like 5-star hotels, they have all that, but the experience would be incredible. And I welcome anyone who's watching or listening, whoever wants to come along. I invite anyone to come along on the Christmas drive that we do to experience what I've experienced. It'll blow you away. It'll touch you like no others. And you don't have to worry about safety. It's one of the safest countries in the world because they protect the tourists. It's not Phnom Penh, which is a little more dangerous, but not a lot. But Siem Reap is really a safe place. It's all tourists. And my best friend there is Angelina Jolie's personal, when she goes, she's his driver and takes care of her kids and things like that. So we got a big muscle man to help us who's so funny and fun also. So it's a trip of a lifetime. I don't even care that I don't know you. If you're there and you're curious and want to come over and experience any of this or interested in helping me with my dream of this tennis court, just one court. It's not even going to take a lot of money, but I just know it's so needed, and all these kids would get an opportunity to come express themselves on the court and work hard, and they get to a certain level and they get rewarded. And that's what I'm all about right now, sports and kids, because I feel it's what helped me and got me to where I'm at. So I feel like I want to nurture that. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm wondering if we could set up some kind of a GoFundMe or something like that where
I would love that. Like right now, it's like that would be the ultimate. And this is something where I'd be hands-on. I would be over there and I would be a part of that. So it's something that's not going to just get built and then disappear. Some weird stuff's going to happen. It's like, no, I put in my time and dues there to know how things operate. And I work with some of the smartest people over there who are also good family men. So I have a really good circle it took a while, but I put in my dues and I have some really good people that, can help with that. So I'm not flying blind here with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome, Amber.
Yeah,
So,
I say we do a GoFundMe and we track your progress through GoFundMe.
That would be awesome. And then you've inspired me today to kind of reach out to more maybe tennis clubs and things like that, where people who play tennis, obviously it's kind of a luxury sport. A lot of people have big tennis clubs and things like that. So I feel it's inspired me to really reach out more and try to. So thank you for inspiring me today by just listening to me and saying that. Thank you.
100%. I know we have some individuals in the community who are very into the sport. So if they haven't heard this podcast by now, we'll make certain once the GoFundMe is up that we reach out to them as well, because it is about the community. It's about all of us joining together to make this amazing planet that we have the best that it can be.
Just to get back to what I said, there's people that when they don't hear my story, like I have a chance to explain it on your platform. It's like tennis. Why are you supporting kids in tennis? There's other things. And I'm like, this is an area that's really it's important. And I hope you understand that it's not about this luxury tennis sport. It's about an international sport. And this is the only country that doesn't have a really strong, not in the city they do, but up here where I'm at, they don't have that infrastructure or support yet. And it's important. It's really important that this part of the country grows in this international sport. It's huge in Asia and all Vietnam, millions of courts, Thailand, millions of courts. They're surrounded by all these big power Asian tennis players, but Cambodia is like, we just have dirt. How are we supposed to compete with these players? So the number one girl, I'll send you a video. She's 16. I haven't seen her in 3 years, but now she's number one in Cambodia. She's from playing. She came from playing in the dirt. So the top player gets to go down to the city and train with the real coaches on the hard courts in the big city, where if these kids get better, they can kind of move on and have a chance. And she'll probably end up coaching somewhere, making some nice money in a hotel. So that's where my head's at, like helping kids that want to help themselves. And we'll open it up to anybody that wants to play. That's the beauty. There's no, requirement to, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I could talk about that all day, but
No, it's a beautiful thing. And again, led by heart,
yeah.
right? It's
Yeah. The connection I have with these kids, and when they see me show up at the court, and I have a little flamboyant personality on the court, I'm like speaking in English and they're repeating me. I'll send you some photos and video because they're repeating me, and it's kind of a mocking, but it's not even mocking. They're just having fun, right? So
yeah.
it's just funny because it's like I just bring the energy up, because when I come, I'm just like, let's bring it, let's go. And I'm just like, saying things in English, and it's also helping them learn English too. So that's another place that I focus my energy for years. And I haven't talked about that, but I was helping a free English school. There's one in particular, my really good friend. I'm sorry to go into this, but my favorite person in Cambodia is this man who couldn't afford $1 a month to pay the monks. Monks back then, they're in the Khmer Rouge, they taught English at the pagodas. So he couldn't pay $1 a month. So the monk said, if you go get top 3 in your class, I'll teach you for free. And I just talked to him the other day. I go, hey, I never asked you, how many years did you work with that monk? He goes, 7. He goes, that monk taught you for 7 years? He goes, yeah, because I kept my grades up. And he got to learn English. And now he speaks great English, and he's one of the top businessmen in the area. And it's amazing. That one monk, back then, all the monks were incredible, and they helped. If you couldn't take care of your kid, you dropped them off at the pagoda, and the monks took care of them. And monks were incredible beings back then. They learned English because they knew how important it was to have these kids learn English. But he couldn't afford $1 a month, so that's why, to me, it's like, okay, put these challenges out there. If you go do this, we'll give you this. You're rewarded. I think it's really important. But giving. What I'm doing for Christmas is just giving to people randomly who need it. I'd rather focus more on, okay, work hard and we'll reward you. Right? Anyway.
They have to have the opportunity first.
Yes, exactly.
It has to be there.
I want to present that opportunity in the best way I can, and that's through sports, because tennis specifically, because that gives them an opportunity to, and that's just me helping out my little part. And if people have other parts that they don't, everybody has their part or their way of helping a country like this.
But again, it goes back to, let's all weave our ways of doing it together, and we get strength in numbers.
Yeah, strength in numbers, and working together and supporting each other, and just doing your little part. Like, it all adds up, and I'm not financially secure enough, and people think you have to be. I think there's a misconception where you have to have all this money, and it's like, no, I don't have the money, and I live in a little bungalow. It's like, I don't want to show you this little square little room, but I live really modestly, because these people that come and stay in these big hotels pay $500 a night. It's like, that blows my mind, because there's so much. They come there and they're staying in these overpriced hotels in Cambodia. And I'm like, what are you doing? That money could go out. You could buy some things to help, especially coming out of COVID. These people got hit hard in COVID. They didn't have no government giving them any $1,500 or unemployment or anything. They didn't get none of that, So they got hit hard. So my point is, you don't have to stay in $500 a night hotels and live lavishly when you come. Sure, you want to be comfortable, but it's like, anyway, I'm not speaking probably to most people out there when I say that, but yeah, it doesn't take much to go a long way. It's amazing what $1,000 did for this school. They were just so appreciative. It was a huge ceremony. Everybody's dressed up, and the teachers, they're all female teachers, and they're just like, they're so grateful that their kids can have uniforms and backpacks. And we drove way out, like, because people can help just around the outskirts of the town, because they don't want to go too far out. Yeah. But we're like, okay, we're going way out where nobody's ever gone to. So I'm going way out. So we're taking a car way out the boonies. You should see these roads. Oh, no way.
And you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
and
I am.
yeah, seriously. And then you see the school that they built. It's just a tin roof with wood, and I'm like, this is it? And I'm like, he's like, yeah, this is all they can afford. And I'm like, wow. Otherwise, they got to like ride their bikes and go really far to the nearest next school. But they built this little school, and that's what we provided for. And I felt even more. It just felt even better because it's like, wow, this school really needs help. It's a tin, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'll send pictures if you want. I'll send you a bunch of
I would
stuff.
say send as much as you can because then we can connect. Sometimes relative perspective means everything, especially with our theme this month being authenticity. If we're going to be authentic with who we are, some of that is getting back to being grateful for what we have. And when we get so removed from realizing how fortunate we are in our lives, no matter where we are, even if our school has a tin roof and those doors, at least we have a school. We're getting educated. I mean, no matter what it is be grateful for what we have and then ask what else is possible.
I think that's the number one thing that attracts me to this place is they really, truly are grateful. You can see in their eyes, and you just don't feel that in America. And it's not that kids in Cambodia are more important than kids in America or vice versa. It's just we want to be around people that are grateful. We want to see that people are grateful like us, you, me, people out there watching. I think if you're even watching right now, you understand what gratitude is and how important it is and to be appreciated, you know? So the gratitude, I just feel so blessed that people like just even listen to me when I say, hey, I'm trying to do this for Christmas. And it's just like, I'm overwhelmed with people just $50, $100, this, that, buying things. I do a little Cambodian flea market at the Funny Bone in Columbus after the show, and people are buying it. And I'm just like, oh, and I'm just so grateful and just full of gratitude that I can be a messenger to help.
Flip it.
Yeah.
Part of the reason they do that, and I know this from experience with you, is because you give so much of yourself, they desire to give of themselves. It is both ways. And so that authenticity, that love coming from you sparks a desire to return that back to you. And so it creates this reciprocity. And so when I say heart leader to you, I don't even have to ask you what it means to you because you show it. You don't have to say heart leader means this.
Yeah.
Your embodiment of it says what heart leader means.
I really appreciate that because I'm such a firm believer of walk the walk and just, there's so much talk and it's like, I try to just walk the walk and hope that that speaks for itself. So thank you for saying that, for noticing that. It really inspires me to keep doing what I do and be who I am and authentically be who I am. And that word is very important. And I'm glad you say that because if you're not working from an authentic place, you're not really working. You're not doing it for any other reason except just being authentic and knowing that you're here with a higher purpose than just being born and existing on this planet, having materialistic things. And those things don't mean anything. I have friends that are millionaires. You have friends that are millionaires, and they're so jealous of me. And they love me, but they'll admit they're jealous. And I said, but you can do this too. You can. And they're like, no, I can't. I'm stuck in this. I got a kid. I got a wife. And I got this and I got that. And I'm like, I don't know how to respond because we all have to figure it out. I'm single and that makes a difference. I can pick up and go and do things. So I have a situation where I deliberately went this direction because I know I can do more good of what I need to be doing. And it's hard to, anyway, does that make sense?
We can all contribute in our own ways.
Absolutely. And even don't feel like you're stuck. Like I said, in some situation where you can't do it because there's people like me. And if you can tap into the right people that can, even if you can't physically go there and you can donate or just talk to me, reach out to me. I'll answer anybody that wants to reach out and have a conversation. And even if you don't want to work with me, just talk to me and even tell me about your situation, how you're locked in and you wish you could travel and, whatever. I'm there for you because your intentions are good. You're trying, you want to be more authentic or you want to be more grateful or whatever. Just move in the right direction, Amber, just at least go in the right direction. Like really want to better yourself and really try to raise awareness in your personal self growth and really just make an effort. And I'm really trying. Like I said, I'm a work in progress. I'm a very complicated kind of person, but all that goes away when you focus on, helping others. All that other crap is just crap, really. It's just crap. Nothing else. The meaningless conversations. Do you ever go out to dinner and you're like, oh boy, I got to sit here through another meaningless. I can't do those dinners anymore. I can't do those. I just walk away. I can't. And that's just being more and more authentic. And it's not even being rude or it's not even, we all have to put on our actor faces and, be around these people that are talking about stuff that it doesn't matter. And once you start doing the work, like what I'm doing, like there's just the stuff starts falling off, all the crap. And it's all in all of us, but we got to get rid of the layers. We got to just
clean your closet.
Yeah. Get back to your who you are and listen to your true heart. Lead with that. Yeah. So I love what you're doing. I can't believe I'm here. I know I've been diarrhea of the mouth and
not at all, but I did just get the time's up mark. So I want to make sure that people know we're going to set up a GoFundMe so that they can contribute and we'll give all the details for that. We'll also let them know how they can get a hold of you so that if they are interested in coming over and the next Christmas in Cambodia, they know how to get a hold of you to not only contribute, but if they want to come along, they know how to do that.
Can I add one thing, not to cut you off?
Oh yeah, please.
But if you don't feel like my tennis direction where I'm going, which I feel is like it's really important, but there's also like a free English school that my friend who paid $1 a month, he has a school that he does for free because that's his way of giving back. So he has a small little school that I've supported too. That went down in COVID. It went down because there was no funding. So we'd like to bring that back up. So I could bring him in on the conversation. So there's two ways, depending on where your heart, people out there, where your heart kind of goes. If you feel like mine with the tennis or his with the school, feel free to reach out because learning English is so important for these kids too. Learning English. It's not it's a luxury, or not a luxury, but it's a need. It's a needed thing, but it doesn't come naturally. They have to pay extra and they got to go to these separate English schools on top of school. And a lot of kids drop out of school because they have to work in the rice fields or help support the family. So it's very similar to the Amish, to be honest. And that's kind of what draws me. I grew up in Amish country and it's really weird, the comparisons, but that's a whole nother story. And I know we're at the end, but thank you.
Of course. Thank you. I will get all the details so that we post all of it with this podcast. And thank you, Suivera community, for tuning in to another Heart Leader podcast where our heart and our mind align. This has been an episode with Greg James, the amazing heart leader who has done so many profound things in life, but is now dedicating so much of his time to helping others. So if you feel compelled to join together with him to do so, you can find out more at suivera.org. We'll make sure that we have all of the details posted so that you can learn more about his efforts and find that GoFundMe campaign that will get set up. And as always, we have all of our free resources and our free tool located for this month. So pop on over and get that as well. Until next time, I'm your host, Amber, and I'll see you in our Suivera community.